Okay, everybody, welcome to Machine Metrics webinar series. Today, we're taking on remote machine monitoring and allowing manufacturers to take action from anywhere, anytime. I'm going to turn my camera on here so you can see my face. My name is Graham Immerman, and I'm the VP of Marketing at Machine Metrics. Whether you're social distancing or simply working away from the factory floor, real-time remote visibility into manufacturing operations is really a game changer for those manufacturers looking to maximize their production. Yet, amazingly, in today's mobile world, research shows that only 46% of manufacturers have any sort of integrated or comprehensive remote monitoring solutions for their factories. Without access to data, many manufacturers are operating without the data that they need at their fingertips to make informed decisions at a moment's notice, resulting not just in major efficiency losses, but allowing a competitive advantage for those that do. So in today's webinar, we're going to be exploring the power of remote machine monitoring and its ability to enable manufacturers to harness the power of real-time machine data from anywhere at any time without having to be physically in the same space as operational equipment. We'll also explore some key drivers for manufacturers to begin remote monitoring for their factories, such as how it all works, some of the most profitable use cases for manufacturers, and what you should look for in a remote monitoring platform. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Otherwise, we're not going to get very far today. But my name is Graham Immerman. I am your host and moderator, per usual. Hopefully my voice hasn't gotten too annoying to many of you yet. And I'm excited to be here today for this great webinar. As I said before, we have a pretty quick agenda. We're going to do a brief introduction, a video, if you will, regarding machine metrics. And then right after that, we're going to get to the main event. Why remote? How do you go remote? What are the top use cases? What are some best practices in remote enablement? And then we're going to pause for a live Q&A. Before we get started, a couple more notes. Number one, this webinar is being recorded, so fear not. If you do have to leave at any point, we will send out a link to the recording after the webinar. No idea how long this one will take, as I've actually never delivered it before, so you guys are first up in that enjoyment. Now, questions are welcome. So there is a QA area in the Zoom navigation where you can ask a question at any time. I will do my best, given that I'm solo on this, to answer those questions in real time while talking, but as you can imagine, that won't always be that easy. So many times I will just leave the questions for the end of the webinar, and then we can answer those during the QA. You can also feel free to leverage the chat functionality to ask questions or discuss things amongst yourselves. So as I said, before we get started, let me just share a little bit about us with a very brief video. Hopefully it'll work. Okay. I have to turn on the sound for our video here.
Manufacturing produces more data than any other major industry in the world, yet has been slow to adopt. Manufacturing produces more data than any other major industry in the world, yet has been slow to adopt the digital mindset transforming industries like agriculture, banking, and healthcare. Manual data collection is time-consuming and inaccurate. Operating on gut instinct alone leads to inefficiencies and poor decision-making that affect every component of a company's operation, from significant downtime to production losses. We're in the age of Industry 4.0, and manufacturers need every edge they can get to stay competitive. Real-time actionable data is that edge. Your machines generate hundreds of data points every millisecond, all of which tell a story of what happened in the past, what's happening now, and what will happen next. It's time you harnessed that data and jump-started your factory's digital transformation. Machine Metrics provides an intuitive, flexible monitoring platform that easily collects data from any piece of manufacturing equipment and transforms it into powerful, actionable insights. Why does Machine Metrics succeed where so many others have failed? The key is in our ease of use and time to value. The Machine Metrics IoT platform is easy to install and implement. You'll start visualizing data in a matter of hours. Plug-and-play edge connectivity harnesses and standardizes machine data across your entire fleet. Our intuitive, out-of-the-box apps are easy to use and drive rapid improvements in efficiency. Training is minimal. Real-time shop floor dashboards, machine production and condition monitoring, historical reporting, and automated alerts instantly enable visibility and analytics to help your team understand the big picture. Build your own apps or seamlessly connect with your current shop floor systems to easily integrate machine data across your digital factory. Machine Metrics will help your team deliver the right information to the right person at the right time. Identify potential bottlenecks before they occur. Update cycle time standards in real time to improve pricing and scheduling. Detect anomalies and predict maintenance events before they cause downtime. Empower your workforce with step-by-step instructions to optimize processes. Enable lights-out manufacturing with remote monitoring and alarm notifications. With Machine Metrics, any manufacturer can start leveraging their machine data immediately to drive improvements and provide the foundation for scaling data across their operations. It's time to start transforming your factory, all with the click of a button. Harness the power of machine data so it can become your competitive advantage.
Don't worry, I won't make you watch that again. Thank you all so much. Appreciate that. That's a little bit about us. Let's get to the main event. So why go remote? That's the question that we're here to answer. And the often cited quote, "Numbers don't lie," when being applied to manufacturing highlights really a few important aspects of the manufacturing process. Number one, as we discussed in the video, manufacturing does produce more data than virtually any other industry in the world and has also been notoriously slow to adopt the digital mindset that has transformed other industries. And due to that lack of data, many manufacturers, whether they're small or large, operate mostly on gut instinct, which leads to these remarkable inefficiencies that permeate and affect every component of a manufacturer operations. And in fact, we can tell you that the average utilization of manufacturing equipment hovers around a staggering low 23%. And it is a jaw-dropping number. And mounting competition and increased pressure on pricing has really made it even more important for manufacturers to deliver the best product faster than ever. So essentially, those that don't have data need help, and they need it right now. Now, to make things even more difficult, enter the COVID era. In industrial manufacturing, shop floor activity hit its lowest levels since the Second World War. And in many cases, manufacturing facilities either have or been or are still shut down. This is actually pulled directly from our State of the Industry report, which we had at our last webinar. I hope you guys were able to attend. And although many manufacturing facilities and overall production, for that matter, has indeed rebounded, as many manufacturers are deemed either essential and thus given government go-aheads to operate full steam ahead, the truth is that social distancing and other safety measures have become the norm and is now the new expectation to be applied across shop floors. And what this means is that traditional manufacturing processes are often no longer applicable, or if used, will take up significantly more time than previous. Thus, these time lapses add up, and their negative impact on the factory efficiency levels are quite notable. Now, on top of this, we have a remote work renaissance on our hands. even before the outbreak of COVID, remote work was on the rise as companies began understanding that remote employees were both cheaper and happier. But in the light of quarantine measures, the world has embraced remote work in a way that, while perhaps inevitable, was still likely years away. So recent Gallup surveys showed that up to 62% of people have or are currently working from home. Even more interesting is that people want to keep working remotely. In fact, 59% of workers who have been working from home during this time would actually prefer to continue to do so moving forward. I think we can all take a chuckle at that, as I think many of us would practically give a limb to leave our homes just for a few hours. But for digital companies like us, that impact of having remote employees was significant, but frankly manageable. We're a software company, right? For manufacturers, right, that scenario is indeed a bit more complicated, as many manufacturers and manufacturing processes still today, despite the advent of Industry 4.0 and automation, still have some component of human interaction that requires someone to be on the shop floor. So pair this fact with the fact that manufacturing has an ever-growing talent shortage, something that I'm sure you are aware of. So while demand for labor increases, the skills gap for manufacturing may leave approximately 2.4 million positions unfilled between 2018 and 2028. That's a potential economic impact of $2.5 trillion. Holy crap. So when it comes to being able to meet demand, and with almost 50% of the workforce working remotely, many manufacturers are not equipped for this type of working environment. Now, we here at Machine Metrics, we didn't build Zoom video conference software. So we're not going to take on video conferencing. We didn't build Slack so you guys can Slack each other or chat, through some sort of text. We didn't build dozens of other software designed for companies, employees who are moving to go remote. So our objective is not to boil the ocean today. Our focus is and will always be on what's at the heart of these manufacturing operations like yours, which is empowering the machines that make things and the people who manage them with data. For many on this webinar who probably know all too well, these complex pieces of manufacturing equipment require constant feeding, maintenance, and optimization. And those who are already suffering from systemic reactivity due to a lack of skilled labor, removing even more people from the factory floor feels probably unimaginable. And less than half of manufacturers, as we said at the beginning of this webinar, any sort of remote monitoring for these pieces of equipment, nor for their processes, leaving many manufacturers blind to what's actually happening now on the line, without the information that you need to make decisions. Don't worry, there's good news. This is not just a melancholy webinar, I assure you. So first, in most manufacturing companies, non-production staff is anywhere between 25 and 50% of the total headcount, meaning that there are manufacturing employees that can work remotely. So there is a silver lining. Not everybody actually has to be there. Now, second, manufacturers with remote employees are going to face very specific challenges, which clearly my slide got totally screwed up, and that's okay. And these are the things that we're going to be talking about. How can a manufacturer effectively monitor production health and performance without being on site? How can you get precise insights on machine performance issues, including what needs to be fixed, adjusted, or improved so that limited on-site resources can focus on the high impact work at hand? And third, how do we enable on-site teams to become more autonomous, to provide them with the real-time support and expertise they need to do their job better? So as the title of this webinar states, we're here to talk about remote machine monitoring, but what is that exactly? Well, remote machine monitoring solutions leverage the power of machine data collection capabilities, typically via IoT computing devices, and a centralized cloud data platform to make production data accessible from any location at any time. This provides the manufacturer the necessary near real-time data from their manufacturing equipment to measure, analyze, and improve business operations without having to be physically in the same space with the operational machines. Now, on this slide, you have, which appears to be somewhat of a white void. This represents the unconnected shop floor. And as you can see, you have a machine. Now, as you heard in our video to start the presentation, these complex automated CNC equipment, Machine Metrics were very focused in discrete manufacturing, turning, milling, stamping, fabrication, injection molding, cold heading, lasers, axes, grinders, welders, robots, cobots, so on and so forth. They produce thousands of data points every second, all of which really tell a story of what's happening, what has happened, and what's going to happen next. But sadly, that information is typically either shot off into space, as you can see here, or it's siloed within the machine itself. So the objective of a remote monitoring solution here is to first simply collect the data from the machine. Secondly, to push that data to a central cloud platform where it can be accessed by employees working remotely from anywhere, anytime. Now, by connecting to and collecting data from and making data available across all pieces of equipment on the factory floor, manufacturers can immediately start reducing equipment downtime and maximizing profitability for their operations without necessarily having every employee on site. Easy, right? Well, I guess that really depends on who you ask and what platform that you use. So in evaluating remote monitoring platforms, knowing what to look for is often as easy as knowing what to avoid. IoT, right? The silver bullet to solve all of manufacturing's problems. Not exactly. In fact, 81% of IIoT implementations fail, according to Cisco. This is not meant to scare you. This is meant just to share a simple fact that due to the time-consuming and often prohibitively expensive nature of implementation and deployment of either custom solutions or solutions that you have to build yourselves, not only do they take forever to actually get up and running, but they require huge investments of resources and people up front. They also lack a required domain and vertical expertise to help manufacturers transform and take action on the data collected from these thousands of different machine types to drive any sort of measurable or quantifiable value to justify their investment. Thus, the manufacturer, you or whoever, is essentially SOL, or shit out of luck. Now, many packaged applications and solutions on the market have existed essentially for the last 20 years, but oftentimes they're not cloud-based. They're difficult to customize. They're difficult to extend. They don't integrate with your other disparate systems that exist in the facility. So the customization of many of these these software solutions, right, along with the integrations and their lack of capability to interact with your other systems, can create a nightmare when it comes to upgrading the system, the maintenance fees and the amount of people that have to go and actually managing it, and the scalability of that system across one machine, 10 machines, 100 machines, 100 sites, so on and so forth. So what is the solution? Well, obviously it's our webinar. So let's use us as an example for what the solution looked like. We've been incredibly successful where many other companies have failed due to a number of reasons. But I think that those reasons can be best synthesized into the following. Actionable data now, right? Our plug and play connectivity to machines eliminates the time-consuming tag mapping and data standardization that is required when you're connecting to literally dozens, if not hundreds of different types of equipment. We can essentially deliver consumable data and insights in a matter of minutes. Now, we're also very easy to deploy. Not only is it quick and simple to deploy and easy to use and easy to scale across one or multiple factories, 90% of our customers this year have integrated themselves and started collecting data from their machines without machine metrics or any of our people ever coming on site. It's kind of remarkable that our customers have been able to add machines and expand the number of machines that they have visibility into without our help. Our vertical expertise and our exclusive focus and deep domain expertise provides a necessary context to enable use cases and domain-specific process optimizations, not just for any manufacturer, but for discrete manufacturers. And I think most importantly, it's all about fast and continuous value. So we provide these vertically focused out-of-the-box apps that democratize the data and analytics to your various factory workers from anywhere to drive both immediate and continuous value across the organization. And that number, that 20%, is an average increase in machine utilization that our customers experience within the first month of using our system. It's pretty powerful stuff. So what does a remote monitoring setup look like? Well, typically, this is an example of the way that we would set one up, but Machine Metrics, we have an edge platform that features plug and play connectivity to these machines. And this was developed to automatically unlock, map out, collect, and standardize available data points, internal sensors of the machine, machine status, modes, feeds, alarms, loads, feeds, overrides, and more on discrete manufacturing equipment. But to provide a plug and play solution, our edge platform software runs on these edge devices, which are little computer powered IoT gateways that our customers often will call the little green box. And these connect directly to the modern CNC machine tool control systems via the Ethernet port. They're literally plug and play. And I can assure you that with zero manufacturing engineering experience, I've integrated machines to Machine Metrics. So if that gives you an idea of how easy it is to connect to modern equipment, I hope it gives some resemblance to that. And now for legacy equipment, we also add additional sensors that you can easily connect to your own machines. And with basic scripting language that happens through our web app, we can connect even the most complex and legacy pieces of equipment on the factory floor. Now, once you are able to get the data, right, and standardize it and collect it, that data is then instantly and securely streamed to the Machine Metrics cloud platform via Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular. Now, that capability of collecting data and pushing it to the central IoT platform enables that consumable machine data and insights in a matter of minutes for our customers from anywhere through a secure internet connection. Now, in the cloud, all this data is gathered and processed in that central location. Usually, this is what we call like a data center, right? We call it a data platform. And all devices that need to access this data or use applications associated with it must first connect to the cloud in order to do so. And since everything is centralized, the cloud is actually quite easy to secure and control while still allowing for that reliable remote access to data for all of your employees that have to work remotely. Now, once that data is processed and analyzed, right, in the cloud, which happens pretty dang quickly, it can be immediately accessed through our IoT, this platform, in a number of different ways, right? Whether it be for real-time visualization, reporting, diagnostics, or as workflow triggers to help improve your ability to make decisions from anywhere based on that data. Now, our pre-built applications, which live on the cloud, are designed for factory floor and remote workers to drive value immediately after connecting this equipment. Custom factory app, you can also build custom factory apps and integrations into other systems built by our customers and partners to provide additional value and automation potential from the machine data, and can be hosted by us, so you can access that from anywhere. Some of those use cases that we see are, production monitoring, real-time dashboards, downtime Pareto charts, customizable and configurable reporting, all the data that you need at your fingertips from anywhere to help those that are on the factory floor make decisions in real time. Now, Once you're able to harness the machine, what we call the machine data digital thread, and this is the machine data that comes from one or all of your equipment. The opportunities for automation within your operations are literally endless, from triggering maintenance and quality and production design and logistics systems like ERP with real-time data and analytics to supply chain orders for your materials and tooling and resources, receiving faster customized service and support from your machine tool and component providers, to providing greater transparency and traceability even to your customers. And this is really at the heart of remote monitoring, because the less people that are present on the factory floor, the more automation is required to support the continuation of processes. Now, as we discussed previously, while some manufacturers are being forced to change strategies temporarily, others have a need to double down on what they do best. And one thing is for certain: by enabling remote workers and mobile workers, industrial companies are better able to ensure the safety of their workers while continuing to serve your customers. Now, it is true that today factories are going remote out of necessity, right? But many manufacturers are finding that fewer on-site staff and more virtual input can actually result in substantial improvements outside of that necessity. Uh, Expect that concept for virtual shifts and to be widely adopted in the future, even after this end of social distancing requirements. So right now, any manufacturer can leverage our platform, or remote monitoring for that matter, and digital applications designed to enable remote work, especially during this time where it's imperative. So so some of those apps that we're seeing, and I'm going to drive through some of the use cases that we're finding are most successful to empower our customers, and thus you, to work remotely and continue to keep your plants running during this difficult time. The first one would just be automating data collection, right? So many manufacturers that we work with have an extremely manual data collection process, and that takes time, people, resources, walking around the factory floor. It not only is it inaccurate, but it's delayed, and because of that, right? When you have certain social restrictions or social distancing guidelines, you want anything possible that you can leverage to your benefit to not have people walking into each other unless it's totally necessary, right? And manual data collection is a perfect situation where if you don't need to do it, don't do it. So our platform enables any manufacturer to automatically collect that data from those manufacturing equipment, categorize downtime events, automate workflows and triggers around that machine data. So just like that, you've removed a manual process that is not only inaccurate, but it's delayed, and you've automated it. So now that data collection is available, so you can monitor your production from anywhere. So whether you are social distancing or simply just working away from the factory floor, using the real-time visibility to understand what's happening in your factory is a huge win. So with any internet capable device, views within our platform, for example, such as our current shift dashboard or production report, will allow any team to easily remotely monitor the progress of the factory floor. And you can also invite additional employees to access that data remotely at no additional cost. So you can take a quick look at your current customers, current users, and consider adding those to your list. Enhancing communication remotely is another great use case that we've seen for remote machine monitoring. So the timely communication of critical information is always it's important, especially on the factory floor. But the importance is just magnified remarkably as daily routines are impacted during this time. So, and frankly, moving forward into the remote era. So consider developing internal strategies for using notifications to your advantage. Machine Metrics has the capability to deliver real-time notifications triggered by virtually anything that's happening on the factory floor. So you have at your fingertips the ability to send mobile notifications for significant utilization drops, specific machine downtimes, individual alarms, maintenance problems, and so on and so forth to any factory worker. And those are easily customizable within our system. Making informed schedule changes and staffing changes. There's another use case that allows our customers to balance their needs with staffing considerations. And that's key during this time. Having the data required to staff strategically is an important advantage that right now our customers have remotely. So by using key data points such as week over week machine utilization, critical job performance, you can make informed scheduling and staffing decisions. That historical data can also be leveraged to quantify the impact current conditions have or are having on your business so you can make projections about the future. Now, before I go on, I just want to quickly remind those of you, and we are getting some questions coming in, that you can definitely drop your questions into the Q&A section, so we can make sure to answer those as they come in. Turns out that I'm not able to read them and answer them simultaneously, so just drop them right in there, and I'll make sure to drop these in when we do the Q&A in just a few minutes. Now, for many of us that are going remote, right, confidently being able to maximize lights out capabilities is critical to our operations. And well, we get that not every manufacturer has the ability to do lights out manufacturing. If you have invested in robotics, palletized machines, bar feeders, or other automation, now is the time to leverage them at their fullest. Running lights out will help you keep your critical jobs running while spacing your employees tending machines to mitigate risk, right? So using our operator insight feature, you can actually see operators signing in while tending machines and set up monitors. We call them workflows within our system with notifications for when your bar feeder alarms or when a machine requires lubrication. So you don't have to have somebody running around the factory floor without knowing what's happening. You can also be alerted about any critical alarms through throughput while the machine is being unmanned, and even respond to any critical issues or alarms faster. So by having this real-time data at your fingertips from anywhere, we often will have customers that get notifications even from home, and that's the way that they will manage that overnight shift, is by responding according to those specific times. Another use case that our customers have access to, which I think is a great one, is it's a rapidly growing example, is allowing maintenance and reliability and operational teams to remotely monitoring your machine's health and take action only when necessary. So corporate management obviously benefits greatly from the resulting visibility, as well as the ability to guide on-site activity via remote collaborations. So with rapid adoption of technologies like remote machine monitoring, manufacturers are engaged essentially in two modes of operation, right? You got the physical shift for on-site teams that operate and maintain machines on the factory floor. And you have like a virtual shift, right? For remote teams that monitor the factory and help optimize machine performance and operations at a distance. Now, ideally, the physical shift supported by the virtual shift enhances capabilities on the factory floor, while also improving efficiency, productivity, and other key metrics. So by eliminating the requirement for all workers to be on site, and this isn't just related to COVID times, this is all the time, manufacturers will enable often overstretched subject matter experts. And as we said at the beginning, there is a growing gap in skills, and their managers to apply their expertise to multiple factory environments or from home. So many have discovered, right, that plans that look good on paper are just hard to translate into practice, right? So consequently, the virtual shift like that we just talked about can often cause some manufacturers who are implementing remote machine monitoring solutions to either trip or stumble, right? So to keep that from happening, while making the most of this unique opportunity to evolve, manufacturers should really consider these following what we call best practices to enable remote workers. Number one, delineate and choose teams wisely. So ask yourself, who must work inside the factory? Conversely, who does a job that could or should be performed remotely? The answer to these questions aren't obviously simple or even obvious for many manufacturers, as there are but many manufacturers are broadening the skill sets of on-site teams to create what we call more generalist manufacturing employees. Now, populating the factory floor with people who, with the right guidance, can tackle many different jobs can help resolve a much wider range of issues. Conversely, finding ways to utilize specialists in a remote capacity, whether it's reliability experts, quality engineering, or other subject matter experts, that specialization, that focus of their work makes it actually more conducive to perform their job in a remote or digital capacity. So having those people off-site, for example, lets them remotely serve multiple factories, or if you're in a social distancing situation, and cross-pollinate their skills across your organization. Now, two, make sure that you identify the technology that you need. There is a virtual shift, right? And the virtual shift will only work if the infrastructure for data collection, analytics, and remote collaboration is there, right? So some offices do have an easy time going remote, as maybe they're set up for this, right? But many factories still lack that basic capability. So ask yourselves this question. How does someone inside the factory react to a machine problem when they are managing more machines than usual? How do we identify and communicate schedule changes if somebody's offsite? How do we enable more seamless virtual shift? In order to do so, the tech infrastructure needs to be upgraded. Companies like Machine Metrics are here to focus and give you those tools so you can do that. Now, my last piece is adapt your behavior, right? We've been doing the same, and manufacturing collaboration between the virtual team that may exist if you have a remote manufacturer or on-site workers, right, will break down if any participants really lack adequate training. So this is a fundamentally new way of working for everybody. And it's really unrealistic to think that everybody can just instantly adapt with minimal instruction, right? Therefore, training and ongoing sharing of best practices are paramount for success in remote collaboration. Members of that virtual shift should think of their role as helping the on-site team to work as effectively and safely as possible. Remote workers aren't there to dictate orders from afar. Their job is not to ensure a consistent layer of digital support. Their job is, forgive me, to ensure that consistent layer of digital support, right? In order to realize the maximum benefits of remote machine monitoring and collaboration. Now, to that effect, Machine Metrics, every Machine Metrics user has a dedicated customer success manager, and their job is to provide best practices and training to teams like this so they can successfully enable and collaborate through remote machine monitoring. That's something that just comes with Machine Metrics and our platform free of cost. So, that's the beauty of SaaS solutions. So in conclusion, and then we're going to start in the Q&A. Every day, another challenge essentially arises where the growing impact of COVID has just led most companies, rushing to implement new processes and minimize that operational impact. While some manufacturers have been forced to change strategies temporarily, others have a need to double down on what they do best. But one thing is for certain, this isn't going away anytime soon, and it's easier said than done. Factories depend on operators to keep machines running, right? And it's simply not possible, right, for them to just work remotely right away, right? It is possible to significantly reduce the number of people that do work remotely. And taking action to enable remote monitoring and other contingency plans will not only support the business today, but it will help you become more resilient into the future. Pandemics, natural disasters, other challenges that are unforeseen, like or even the skilled labor shortage, for example, they can happen and affect your business at any time. So having a continuity plan in place, along with remote machine monitoring, can minimize an impact that this can have on a company's operations. While solutions like ours can help prepare companies in the event that any of these things do indeed happen or affect your business. So with that, I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to start answering some of these questions. And there's a bunch of them, and feel free to continue to submit them along the way, as I'm really excited to do so. Okay, so we have a question that asks, how long does it normally take to implement in a moderate size factory with 20 machines? Some fully automatic and some are old from the 80s. Good question. Sounds like I'm beating around the bush when I say it depends, but I mean that when I say it sincerely. And here's the reason why. Oftentimes, if you have a factory, say for example, that has hundreds of modern pieces of manufacturing equipment, you could connect all those equipment in a matter of hours. Are they networked, right? Have they been networked, or you're leveraging Wi-Fi, right? These are some of the questions that we ask. Now, legacy equipment depends on your skill set. Oftentimes might take a little bit more time to connect. But I think the short answer to that is, I haven't seen any factories within 20 machines. It takes longer than a couple days at most. And that's for some really complex equipment. Okay. Somebody asked me, besides the hardware that we're showing, what is the software that they would need? Now, what's beautiful about the machine metric system is that you don't need anything else, right? The hardware that we're showing you is essentially off the shelf, painted green, souped up mini computer. The proprietary nature, to Slobodan's question in the Q&A, is in our edge connectivity software, right? So that software was designed to automatically map out and tag all these different data points from MT Connect, OPC UA, OPC, UMADI, Modbus, Ethernet IP, so on and so forth. Whether it's you have a Siemens, a Fanuc, a Heidenhain, a Haas control, it's irrelevant. Because our platform, right, the software that runs on that device automatically connects to and will translate those data points into something that can be standardized, and thus push that data, transform data immediately to the cloud, so it can then be used for analytics. And that's huge, because that time-consuming data mapping is one of the biggest constrictors of industrial IoT across a number of manufacturers that we work with. So I hope that answers that question. Now, another question is, how does interconnectivity between machine metric solutions and custom in-house solutions work? Great question. We call this extensibility, and it can occur in a number of different ways. Number one, and the most basic form, is we have different CSV imports that can pretty much be pushed data back and forth from any system. Number two, we've enabled webhooks. So in the event that you have an ERP system or a CMMS or quality management system, you can literally use machine metrics as a trigger point to enable actions in other systems through a very simple, easy to configure webhook in machine metrics. If you'd like to build your own more custom integration, we have very strong, easy to work with APIs that allow you to build deep integrations with any piece of factory software that you have on your factory. Many of our customers have connected machine metrics to all sorts of different factories solutions, anything from ERP systems, CMMS, quality management. We've had customers integrate with their Kronos HR software. The opportunities for integration with our platform are endless. We actually just rolled out an out-of-the-box integration with a company called Fix that allows us any manufacturer to essentially drive maintenance events in fix with our data, whether it be machine usage or whether it be a machine alarm or a load exceeding a certain threshold, you name it, right? And just the ability to integrate machine data in that capacity will transform the way that a maintenance department functions. So it's really cool, and we're seeing that integrated across a number of our customer sites. You can do that with your own maintenance software. Okay, we've got tons of questions coming in, so I'm gonna try to get to them as much as I can, so bear with me. What is the barrier of entry for customers in adopting this type of solution? That's a tough question to say. I think that, I was on a webinar yesterday where, the entire panel was essentially saying, this is all about the manufacturer, right? And if you guys don't have the right pieces in place, there's no way that you can achieve success with anything. And there's a piece of me that agrees with that, right? I mean, listen, if you have bad, shop floor communication and an inability to leverage technology, it's going to be really hard to achieve success with virtually anything. But I think that what makes Machine Metrics at least so successful is that we've eliminated so much of that friction, that barrier to entry for adopting a solution is dramatically reduced. And I think this is where automation comes in, right? If you can automate more processes, right, then that barrier to entry gets lower and lower and lower. So I'd be happy to talk with that person later about some of their barriers that they think might cause them issues, but I hope that answers that question. We've also got a number of resources like this on the website about why industrial IoT projects fail, and I hope that those are useful on that front. Question, is it possible to set up on only 2 machines? You're welcome to reach out to our sales team and they can answer that question for you directly. So I can definitely give whoever was asking some examples of lights out factories offside this call. We take our customers, security and anonymity very seriously. So if there is one interested and you'd like to chat about that more outside the webinar, I'm happy to do so. Yes, I will send out this presentation, so fear not. We'll also send a recording. Satriana asks about custom applications. Can we go into more depth about those? Yes. One thing that we developed similar to like Google was a thing called Machine Metrics Labs. And within Labs, any manufacturer can essentially start customizing solutions for themselves, whether it's building custom dashboards or building their own applications on top of our platform. So really the opportunity to customize your own applications on top of our platform are virtually endless. Let me give you an example of something that we've decided not to do at Machine Metrics. Now, we do have customized and flexible reporting that make it really easy, but I think a good example of where we draw the line is, well, why rebuild Microsoft Power BI, right? Or why rebuild Tableau, right? Or why rebuild Clipfolio when those solutions already exist? So at Machine Metrics, we've taken a very strong line on that. We're never going to rebuild something that's already being done way better by somebody else. And even more so, why would we not just connect to a system that you already have if that's something that you can already leverage that does it better or is not in the same vertical of what we do? I think my suggestion for anybody who is working with or has heard from companies that say that they can do everything is I would instantly question that provider, because the truth is anybody that says that they do everything well likely doesn't do anything really well. So I hope that it answers that question. What is the cost of hardware and the software? I urge Francesco for you to answer that question, to reach out to our sales team. We are an annual subscription, so it is a per machine, per license per year fee. And our hardware costs are actually just hard costs for us. We don't make any money on our hardware. If you want to dive into pricing more, feel free to reach out to our sales reps, and they'd be more than happy to answer those questions. We have many customers that say that we don't charge anywhere near enough for our solution. I'd like to think that that's true. And if it is true, maybe we need to increase that. But for now, that's the way it is. Question, is our solution scalable? What size company can gain advantage from the solution? Answer to that question would be absolutely. I would say that one of our strongest points as an organization is the scalability of our solution, because you can connect dozens, if not hundreds of machines extremely quickly across one or multiple sites. Solutions like that are collecting data, such as like a Kepware or an Ignition, require so much manual setup and time that it's really not a scalable solution when you're looking to connect every asset across your entire organization and push that data into a centralized repository where you can then access it through applications and so on and so forth. So we do work with companies that are small. We really started and cut our teeth on smaller manufacturers. But what we've seen is that many large companies, whether you have 1, 10, 100 factories, are all made up of essentially factory floors, individual factory floors. And our solution scales very easily, so you can easily connect those pieces. We also have those standardized out-of-the-box applications, so you don't have to rebuild the wheel from scratch at every single factory. And in doing so, we've had customers scale this out to multiple factories across global factories in a matter of weeks. So I hope that answers your question about scalability. Sundar asks, are we available in India? Yes. We have partners in India, and they'd be happy to help serve you. If you want to reach out to our team through any of our contact forms or me directly through the email that you see here, graham@machinemetrics.com, happy to help you with that. Let's see. What are the important gadgets which can be monitored on a CNC machine? Well, that's a good question. I think it really is relative to the type of equipment. Many manufacturers are looking at spindle load, specifically a lot of ours, right? And they're really interested in understanding, when that spindle load is increasing. You can also look at anything from part count to feed rate, and this would be a good one, for example, like are the operators pushing or decelerating the feed rate on a machine? That's all available through the CNC of the modern machine, right? We'll also sometimes have anything from diagnostic PMC parameters, which are like the pieces of data that exist on proprietary different machines for whether it's a Mori or a Okuma or a Haas or whatever, right? And those data points are like really specific to those different machines, and they can be imperative when you're trying to identify certain alarms that are indicating critical problems on assets. So there are literally hundreds of data points that can be monitored on these machines. Being able to know which ones are most valuable to you is something that we'll work with you and your team to make sure that not only are they available to you, because they most likely will be out of the box through our system, but that you know exactly how to set up a system that highlights the ones that need to be visualized and then take action on depending on whatever situation occurs. Are we server hosted in AWS? Yes. We are an AWS Industrial Software Competency Partner, which means that we're one of 20 companies in the world that achieve that certain security and architectural component of AWS. It also means that they're a partner of ours. So there's no costs associated with any of our customers hosting data, right? All upgrades, all security, it's all built into your cost per machine. And in doing so, we've reduced significant amounts of friction and scalability, like one of the people asked earlier, right? You don't have to have on-site servers to set up machine metrics. Now, you can also take that data from AWS or Machine Metrics, our multi-tenant cloud, and you can sync that into Azure. You can sync that into Google Cloud. You can sync that in your own on-site. You can do whatever you want with that data once it's available in the Machine Metrics platform. So we do have a number of customers that leverage Azure or Google. Our data doesn't push directly into Azure right now, but through our platform, it can get that data to pretty much wherever you want it to be. Okay, let me take a look here because we've got a couple more minutes and a couple more questions. Good question about language capabilities. So right now, certain aspects of machine metrics is localized. If you wanted to learn more about what languages machine metrics needs to be localized into, and if you do have global factories, for example, feel free to please reach out to our sales team, and they can go into much more depth with you there. But there is some customization that can be easily implemented to the system for languages. What's the best way to introduce machine metrics or remote machine monitoring to employees? Martin, that's a great question. We found that the first way of implementing machine metrics, at least, is through baselining your current capabilities. So the first step is to have like a frank conversation with your employees that bring them into the continuous improvement process. Oftentimes these operators, right, or people that are operating on the factory floor actually are a treasure trove of information, right? They're just unopened or haven't been fully able to provide feedback on what's happening, right? And in doing so, oftentimes they get blamed for problems, right? Or when we're late, or when a machine goes down, or so on and so forth. So I think one of the best ways to introduce machine metrics to an employee group is to identify that we're all in the same mission, right? Which is to make us as profitable as possible. I would like to say that I think introducing machine metrics with a employee incentivization plan makes a lot of sense, because if you do better, everybody should do better, right? One of the ways that we will start with manufacturers, we'll actually have them baseline their equipment first. So before they make a full introduction to their employees, we'll connect all their assets, and we'll find out what the actual utilization of equipment is, and downtimes for machines, before anybody has the ability to behaviorally change because they know that a system has been implemented. I think this is critical, because in order to step on the scale, you kind of need to know where you are in order to know where you're going. So we found that first of all, baselining, being able to benchmark yourselves across different industry verticals and machining types is something that Machine Metrics is able to uniquely do, that, as far as we know, no other company is able to do. And then enhancing communication with your employees through either incentivization plans or even just making sure that we're all on the same page and on the same mission. It is one of the most successful ways to do so. And there's a great case study on our website from a company called AccuRounds, and they talk about how to bridge that cultural gap. And I do highly suggest Martin and anybody else who's interested and still on this webinar to go check it out and download it. And I hope that serves like a really good vessel for this type of information. All right, we've got just one more minute here. So let's see if any of these questions are answerable in this time period. Well, I think we're at the top of the hour. So look, and I think many of you have places to go. So I'm gonna wrap things up now. If there's anybody that hasn't gotten their question answered, feel free to email me directly. My name is Graham, graham@machinemetrics.com. I also have some of these in the Q&A section. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. I just want to thank you all so much for being here. I know that times are tough right now. I know that we're all experiencing physical, emotional turmoil from just this last year being so unique. But I think getting people together in these moments and these opportunities is really fantastic, and I really appreciate the time that you guys have given us and me today. So thank you, and I hope you guys tune in for our next webinar.